I joke that if I ever had the money to give an aquarium, it would be called Frank's Fish. Everybody would know this is who did it. People in this city don't even know that Bernie Marcus donated the aquarium.
So obviously a Home Depot weathered the storm and is, again, one of the biggest companies in the entire world. I don't know the latest market cap, but I think it was like $500 billion not too long ago, and it's had this storied success. But then you have had, over all these years, both nonprofit and for-profit boards of publicly traded companies, mid-sized and large nonprofits from that standpoint. And your wife has been super instrumental, a lot of nonprofits. You as well right now are on the board of so many different nonprofits within the community from that standpoint. Walk us kind of through that transition and kind of wrapping it up, like some of the big things that motivate you on an ongoing basis of building impact in the community, because you've been here now for a long time. This is home, and you've invested yourself, and your wife has invested yourself within the community to make an impact, and we've seen that impact. Walk us through kind of that whole transition, because I sent you a picture. Every time I get to hang out with Ed, he always says, and publicly he always says, the person he considers his greatest mentor has been you. And that's a huge testament. I always tell Ed, is like, well, I get to hang out with Frank more than you do nowadays from that perspective. But walk us through kind of meaning around board positions and the impact from there.
But first I'll say that's kind of Ed to say it's actually not true, or he's giving more credit than he should. I will say, I've always said that somebody will eventually teach a class on leadership and use Ed's response and Delta's response to COVID. Because just in a nutshell, we're sitting around in February 2020, we're sitting around the boardroom table patting ourselves on the back that Delta's going to have the best year in Delta's history in 2020. 3 weeks later, 95% of the revenues are gone. And this is a highly asset-intensive, people-intensive, complicated business. Ed walks in, back to my one page and simple, Ed walks into the board and says, here's a page, here's what we're going to do, here are the 7 things we're going to do. And it starts with taking care of customers and taking care of our associates. And you can see the through line in what Delta did during COVID from that one page. And it's not an accident that Delta was the only airline not to involuntarily furlough a person. I mean, think about that. Really pretty stunning in terms of how it treated its own people. It's not an accident that Delta was the only airline for ages that had the middle seat empty. On and on. Those were conscious decisions to invest into the customer and the associate during the toughest time. So a lot to learn from how Ed does things. Talk about boards are interesting and all the rest, but I do think one of the things I learned from my experience at Depot is the importance of giving back to the community. You all do it. We live in Atlanta. The aquarium is one of the great assets in Atlanta. Bernie built that. Bernie stroked the check for the Georgia Aquarium. I joke that if I ever had the money to give an aquarium, it would be called Frank's Fish. Everybody would know this is who did it. People in this city don't even know that Bernie Marcus donated the aquarium. It was part of the culture of how do I give back? And the reason why we have an aquarium is truly Bernie had a discussion with the governor. What do you think the city of Atlanta needs? And Governor Barnes says the city of Atlanta needs an aquarium. I mean, Bernie didn't come to this by saying, oh my God, do I love fish? I just want to put a big building of fish. It was for the city of Atlanta. And, so that's a very much, I could go on and on about how that encapsulates within, how that displays itself within Home Depot. But that culture of giving back to the community is very much a core part of the company.